Hello team and welcome to another episode of our discussion series. This is episode 9 and today's topic is fitness trends. So what we think about them, what we think are fitness trends, whether they think that they've been successful, where they think they might fail, if we are interested in any of them.
Just generally what other trends there are.
Oh, yeah. And if you've got any that we don't talk about,
No.
give us a shout.
Yeah.
And if you want to give us your opinion on any of the ones that we do mention, then crack on. So fitness trends that we've kind of thought of. There were very popular ones that we could literally name straight away. A lot of you probably think of them already. So CrossFit's probably up high on the list. That's become really successful in the last kind of 5 to 10 years, just gone a bit mental. And then I think HIIT was kind of the preemptor of CrossFit.
But it's HIIT and CrossFit, I suppose, are basically the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah,
CrossFit incorporates
so many more
weightlifting and different disciplines and stuff. So it's effectively the same thing. CrossFit's just more specific. HIIT is just high intensity interval training. Yeah. Whatever that means.
It could last over a long period of time, which is kind of what CrossFit tends to do. They tend to force a high intensity battle with majority of their athletes.
But intensity can mean different things. It doesn't necessarily mean short. No, it could mean the weight you're lifting. You could be like a max lift.
It's high intensity.
Could be max intensity because it's max effort.
Yep.
It's just defined differently based on your sport or your discipline or whatever you're lifting for, or whatever you're doing.
What are your thoughts of CrossFit then, Jake?
I think CrossFit as CrossFit is pretty dumb because it takes two good things and merges them together with complete disregard for safety and any sort of sense. Olympic weightlifting is great.
Very technical, yeah.
And high intensity training generally is great, and it combines them together. And there's no, like I said, it's complete disregard for how things look. Although at the end of the day, I don't know if CrossFit's quite like this. It's not a beauty contest.
No.
It's it's who lifts the most. But their sport isn't about lifting the most. Whereas weightlifting, powerlifting is. It doesn't matter how
Don't matter how you lift it.
There's no technique. It's about It's about who lifts the most. It's not how it looks. Yeah. Depending to a slight degree. I mean, certain sports and then federations within sports allow certain like deadlifts. Some allow hitching, like strongman deadlifts. You can hitch the bar. Powerlifting, you can't. Yeah. So there's slight different things with that. I think I said that the right way around.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
you'll get told off otherwise.
Yeah. Strongman, you can hitch and then you can use straps, which you can't for powerlifting stuff. So I just sort of waffled on there.
It's fine by me. CrossFit, obviously there are, that you can sometimes watch, I watch CrossFit every now and again. And I see some very impressive things when it comes to CrossFit. And I think that there's top athletes, Matt Fraser, Tia Toomey. Matt Fraser retired now, but they were actually very good at Olympic weightlifting, and they progressed.
They were weightlifters.
They were lifters, So their technique was pretty damn good.
But didn't CrossFit start off pretty much as just, high intensity Olympic lifting? And now they do like rowing stuff and running,
they're literally
jumping around.
Well, they're trying to prove who the fittest athlete in the world is. So you can't just be good at one thing. And they proved that with Matt Fraser, which was he was a good weightlifter, but he was shit at sprinting and things like that in the beginning. Yeah. And then he ended up being one of the best all-round athletes that there were. Yeah. He was never first. He was rarely first at everything at the beginning. He was just kind of third, second, fifth. Proving that he was the best all-round athlete in the end. And that was the point, that you needed to be the best athlete all-round. And that's what CrossFit's all about. And that's what it is turning into. There's rowing, there's swimming, they do paddleboarding, they do all sorts of stuff now.
So much stuff now.
Whereas, before it was,
it's almost become a bit too convoluted now. It's like there's too much in there.
There's too much in there. And the amount of injuries that CrossFitters get is ridiculous. But anyone who wants to do it, then crack on. If that's what keeps you in the gym and doing stuff, don't if you're going to do it professionally, you've got to suck it up. And they train 2-3 times a day every day of their bloody life, But if you're going to do CrossFit, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just
how many CrossFit athletes or whatever you call them do you see that have bandage around their knee, or they've got that colourful stick tape? What's it called?
Kinesthetic tape or whatever it is.
They're wrapped up in that like a mummy.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and that's proof. But we're not saying that for you guys who are probably just doing it as a bit of fun, and it gets you in the gym, and you're doing it 3 to 4 times a week, and you're doing what they call WODs, workouts of the day. That's fine. I've watched people do them in the gym, and they look torturous.
But it's just circuits.
Yeah, it's just a big hit circuit, which crack on, like no issues with it whatsoever. But when you see professional athletes absolutely ripping, they rip out. I've seen shoulders ripped out, all sorts of stuff. But then again, you can get that in any other kind of sport. So
if you don't know how to do it, everything's dangerous. If you don't know how to drive a car, that's pretty dangerous.
Other fitness trends that we've kind of thought about, functional training was a massive one that came in.
What does functional training to you mean? Because in this day and age, I think if you say, like, if you go into a gym like our one, here's the functional area. It's like all the kettlebells.
Yeah. To me, that's not functional. Yeah. So
functional, I would say, is strongman. That is functional training, because it's stuff that it's basically really heavy versions of stuff you would do day to day.
Well, for me, functional training to me is everyday movements. Yeah. So
carrying stuff,
things,
picking things up off the ground,
squatting,
pressing things overhead,
using those 7 movements that
of your life, sort of bending over, whether it's like a good morning or any sort of hinge,
pressing, whatever.
Not necessarily things like lunging, but because you're not really doing that.
But even that locomotion type stuff, anything like that. That's how we as trainers see functional training. But these days functional training goes alongside suspension trainers. So you'll probably know them as kind of TRX, crank hits, jungle gyms, rigs, battle ropes, kettlebells, plyo boxes, all those kinds of things, which are all their own fitness trends.
Core bags, all that stuff.
They're their own fitness trends themselves.
And they have a place.
And yes, you can do those functional movements using those bits of kit, and there's nothing wrong with any of those bits of kit. I think I use majority of them within my sessions because they can create those functional movements. Hence, probably why they've been put under this umbrella of functional equipment or functional training. But it doesn't mean you can't do a functional training on a squat rack or a bench or a cable machine or.
Like I said, So functional to me is things that you do in your everyday life that you can then incorporate those movement patterns and those movements generally.
As a whole,
With
you can do that with anything. But dumbbells wouldn't be put into that kind of functional training.
However, if you were using them, not typically, but you can use them for farmers carries. And that is a functional movement. Because if you're carrying shopping bags or
briefcase or suitcase
or even like Zercher carries, if you're carrying a child, But it's like old people, I don't want to deadlift, I want to have my back. It's like, well, if you can get used to lifting something off the ground, then you'll be able to pick up your grandchild as they get bigger and heavier. If you've never trained that,
which is why I've used core bags, which are a useful tool within that area, because that's a great way of basically utilising the weight of a core bag, which is probably not even up to 20 kilo.
No.
And your child or your grandchild is probably not going to be that much heavier in their early life.
But that's probably going to be even more useful than a deadlift with a bar, because, and this may sound sort of silly, but the bag it's more compact, it's squidgy, it does move a bit, and people
so you can recreate
you're not
those
picking up a robot, you're picking up a person that's sort of squishy.
But so completely agree with all those functional bits of kit, but just don't agree with it being the sole. This is the sole thing that's functional, because everything can be functional. Like we're in a studio right now with loads of barbells and dumbbells and balls. They're all, to me, functional stuff. But you can do functional movements body weight.
I was about to say.
So
it's the application of.
So the trend functional training, I think, should be all round training.
I don't like the term. Like whenever we're doing inductions, I say to everybody, I said, I hate the term functional for this, but this is considered the functional
area.
Because that's just what
it's that umbrella that we've had.
Unfortunately, people know it as, and I don't think.
And I think that's a lot of the problem with a lot of things in gyms is that this is what people know it as.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to then refer to it as, even though we probably don't agree with that complete term. It's like core areas.
Yeah.
Core areas.
I hate that term.
Which means we lie on our backs and do some sit-ups and stuff, and that's a core area. But anything can be using your core.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, to me, if someone says, what would you say is functional training? I would just say strongman. Doesn't mean, and that doesn't mean the world's strongest man type lifting. I mean,
that's the problem.
I mean, the stuff that they do.
People would automatically think, well, I'm not going to do that because that's lifting heavy things all the time. And it's like, no,
it's the
that's
movement
not
patterns and what they do. It's not the poundages that
they lift. Yeah.
Although, to a degree, it sort of is. You could do farmers walks with, 2 broom handles. I wouldn't consider that of any use. But if you did it with some weight, that is functional and that is a strongman movement. Yeah. So,
next kind of trend that we kind of put down was the big implosion of fitness classes. So group exercise. We're obviously, I said that we're in a studio, so very popular trend that came years and years and years and years ago and is still popular now. It's known as the biggest reason why people stay in gyms. So biggest retention.
I think that's nonsense. I think that's
completely true. Annoys him.
No, I just can't believe that.
The biggest attrition rates come from people that do classes. It doesn't mean that they're coming to the gym. I mean, within a centre, that's what keeps your members, basically. So people are more likely to stay if they create that community feel within a class. Doesn't mean that if it was a gym on its own, it didn't run classes, that you're not going to have a good attrition rate, because if you're a good gym, then you're a good gym. But
at the end of the day, people should come for the facility as a whole, not for one small aspect of it. I say small.
Small, it's massive.
But all right, relative to how many other activities and how other things there are to offer, 1 out of 15 is a small percentage of it.
But yeah, it's just the way it is. Obviously, I'm quite biased. I'm quite group exercise focused. Just having been in my.
I understand. And I completely get
why it's popular.
I wouldn't go to people who are in a class saying, "What are you doing all this shit for? This is bollocks." I get it. I do. I will never teach a class.
No.
I will never take part in a class like this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't interest me.
No.
But I understand why it's attractive to so many people.
Obviously,
I don't dispute that.
The range of classes these days is just ridiculous. Just talking like from.
That's good though, that there's so much variety.
So many classes that you can do. Like off the top of my, obviously we've got Les Mills, which is one of the biggest group exercise companies that there is, that do body pump, body combat, grit, core, spinning, trip. You name it, they do it. I say you name it, they do it. And then you've kind of got the more kind of dancey stuff, although Les Mills will have their own version. Zumbas, and then you can get into the pool. You've got aquafits, aqua jogs, aqua zumbas. You've got spinning in the pool. You've got things that you do on trampolines. You've got
spinning in the pool.
Spinning in the pool. Yes, that is true. You've got pole workouts. I mentioned trampolines already. I've seen bungee workouts.
Yeah.
Boxing classes. Circuits. Literally, if you like dance classes, tap, ballet, bar.
Yeah.
If you want something, it's out there.
Yeah.
Pilates, yoga. All those classes as well. Like it is endless. If you want to do something that involves a thing that you do, you'll find it anywhere. Just ask. I'm sure someone will know.
Not everywhere does everything.
No.
But everything you could think of is done.
It's going to be somewhere. And every company as well has their own versions of things. So off the top of my head, Virgin Active used to have a class called 24, and then there was also a grid class. But then someone like David Lloyd runs something called Blaze, which is a mental class that it's like in boxes, and it's very similar to kind of like CrossFit and HIIT and things like that.
I think when there's a lot of classes that are fundamentally at the core the same. It's just got a different name, and it's slightly formatted differently, just to make it seem like there's more variety, when in fact it's very
Well, you look at I'm going to use where we work as an example. We have HIIT classes and we have Les Mills Grit. So Les Mills Grit is
circuit classes,
and then circuit classes. Les Mills Grit is a certain choreography that you do for a certain amount of weeks, whereas HIIT you can kind of be a little bit freer, but it's going to be the same concept. Still a HIIT class, still usually 30 to 45 minutes of the same thing. You know, body pump is weights to music. You know, there's going to be a version of that somewhere else that's just not called body pump.
Yeah, exactly.
Body combat is punching and kicking to music. Go to boxercise, you've got the same class. You know, it's body balance, Tai Chi, Pilates, yoga, all into one. You can do all three of those on their own. So it's what you want, when you want it, find it, you can do it. And that's what the great thing about classes is. It keeps you very honest with the instructor. You tend to find instructors that you like, create a camaraderie with, same as you can in the gym.
Yeah, it does create a community. It's a community.
You can go with your friends. You know, you meet people within the classes. They tend to go out for coffee together. There's just this massive, and that's why this attrition is so fantastic. So I agree with that fitness trend. That it's worked. It's been probably the most successful thing that's happened within leisure centres and massive health clubs, because you run. You know, I think Aqua was probably the most popular class on timetable within the pool. And for me, that's because no offense to some of the younger people that do Aqua, but the golden oldies just love it because they can hang out with their friends for 45 minutes in the pool and then go have a coffee afterwards. That's why that trend's just been ridiculous. Whoever came up with Aquafit, well done you. Aqua aerobics. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hats off to you.
As simple as it really is.
So simple. Do some exercise in the pool. Amazing. Well done you. But and then I think our last one that we were going to talk about is
generally online stuff.
Online trainers.
I mean, that it has to be a trend.
Well, it's become a massive trend, obviously, in the last couple of years because of COVID. Well, it was already big. It was already around before.
As Instagram and YouTube probably become the most dominant forms of putting out content, I think it's so anyone can upload a video and get X amount of millions of views. It could be just nonsense. Yeah,
refer back to our comments about social media, our episode about social media.
Whatever episode that was.
It's on there.
But,
I think the implosion of Instagram, Facebook, obviously, has given us, including ourselves, because we obviously do this. But
not knocking it. It's a tool.
It's a platform. It can be good and it can be bad, and we've obviously said the benefits of social media itself. But I think this pandemic has obviously increased the want, maybe not the need. The need at the time. I think the need when it was, we were all locked down and people needed things to do and follow.
Let's go see what's online,
but I think the want now is this kind of accessibility to online trainers. Now, I do some online training as a PT, and I find it actually really challenging as a personal trainer. I know some of my colleagues, in the same field, don't.
I wouldn't want to do online stuff because
I love the face-to-face element of it.
You can't train someone and never see them.
It's very challenging. I think you need to be the right type of client and the right type of trainer to be.
And it needs to be the right type of training.
Well, I think let's for example say if Jake online trained me, I think it would work. Because I have a basis of knowledge and how to do things, and I can kind of send him stuff. And he can then set me something up, and that would work. But I think for beginners or people that need that little extra kind of engagement,
you need to be with someone.
It's so hard.
I think if you're going to invest yourself in money and time in online stuff with someone you will never meet, I think as a client or as an individual, you need to have a good couple of years of experience of doing stuff yourself, because you could have never done anything ever. You could get a trainer sending you all this stuff. You're like, well, I don't know what any of this is.
Well, I've had that.
And I've got to go on YouTube and watch it. It's like, well, if I might as well just watch it on YouTube, why am I paying for this person?
Well, I could go up to the guy that's in the gym and actually, help me out. And that's happened so many times to me within working in a gym in the last few years, where people do come up to you with their phones and go, so my trainer, my online trainer has told me to do this, and then you're there having to tell them, we haven't got that kit, you've got to do this. This could be an alternative. So then you obviously that's not a problem for us, but we're then having to then train them. So
or they're doing a slightly different thing to what their program
wants.
The one that always gets me is Romanian deadlifts and stiff leg deadlifts are different exercises. It looks similar, but they are different exercises for different purposes.
So
they both have flat. You both do a deadlift type movement with a straight back and straight legs, but an RDL and a stiff leg DL
completely
are different exercises. It's not an interchangeable name, and a lot of people think, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing.
RDL, stiff leg. No, don't do it.
They are similar, and I can address what the differences are. But
there we go. We can do that in an episode.
Do that another time. But they are not the same. They are similar.
But yeah, so yes, and I think we've mentioned the benefits of online training and the cons of online training.
But we haven't done an episode for that specifically, have we? Or did we cover
social media? Which I think we kind of did cover a little bit. But yeah, I think the trend of online training is never going to go away because it's so accessible, so easy to access. But I think if you're going to utilize an online trainer, then utilize them in the right way. Especially if you kind of know what you're doing, but you kind of need that push. Like I've got a lot of kind of bodybuilder, fitness model friends who've done it for years, and they just need that trainer to be accountable to, and for them to follow a plan that trainer gives them, and they can then just go off and do it. That works.
A lot of time, those people don't go to the trainer or the coach or whoever for
training knowledge.
Because they
just want a plan, and they want.
Or they just want something,
and
they want someone else to plan it. So it's like,
I don't want to think about it. You just write it down for me, and I'll go off and do it. Like that's what and ultimately I would love someone to just do that for me. That'd be great, and I can just follow something and go. Because I write enough people's training programs. I'm like, I don't want to write it my own. So I reckon it would benefit someone like me, but I don't think it would benefit a beginner coming into the gym.
No, which is funny because I think a lot of people would think the other way around.
People want to hide away and not see that person and just get this plan, and they have no idea what it means. And
like, no. If you've never done it, you need someone with you. You can't just go. There's no point having the online stuff if they're never going to see you. That's just.
Well, half the time you see people following their plans in the gym and they're doing the exercise wrong. Like it's just terrifying. And they're going. Your personal trainer told you to do that exercise, but they didn't expect you to do it like that. So, and that's scary, that's frightening. So I agree it's a good trend, but there are issues with it. Any trends that you can think of as we've gone through?
Not right now. I'm sure there are.
There's got to be loads.
Body weight training.
I suppose we haven't discussed the equipment that we think that might be a little trend or two.
Like novelty.
Novelty items.
Are we talking things like power plates?
Power plates,
which are useless.
Never known why they even became a good thing to use.
Or are we talking about things like booty bands?
Both.
And bar pads for squats. /hip thrusts.
Don't really mind it on a hip thrust, but on a squat, I don't understand. Neck pad.
Yeah. It hurts my back.
Build your traps.
Get a bigger upper back. Exactly. Yeah. If you're, it's funny because it's like guys who use it doesn't make sense, and let me explain why. Because if the weight on the bar is heavy enough for the bar to hurt your back, you are strong enough and big enough to have traps for it not to hurt you. So if you're skinny and small and you need one, it's like the weight won't be heavy enough for it to affect
your back. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, the amount of times you see.
So it sort of doesn't make, for a guy to use it is almost like that doesn't make physical sense. But they do it because A lot of people think
it
they need it.
It hurties.
Yeah.
A little bit of red rawness doesn't do anyone any problems, you know.
Yeah.
I think booty bands is a
very popular one.
So obviously for the ladies mostly. I'm not saying that gentlemen don't use them either.
Yeah, but they don't use them while they're doing their main exercise.
No.
But girls do, because they think that's how you build glutes. It's like, no, you can use it as a tool to activate as part of your warm up and your activation for 10 minutes.
It's glute activation.
But you see all these girls who do these kickbacks on the ground with it, kneeling over on
the whole workout. Their whole workout is
and then like we said earlier was the stairmaster kicking back.
The stairmaster kickback.
Yeah, or the crab walk type thing with the back. It's like you're not gonna do anything really.
So this kickback thing is kind of turned up in the gym we work at because it's part of one of the workouts. It's on, and reasons why it's part of one of the workouts is because they're trying to find something for you to do rather than just walk up the stairs. Yeah. So you are doing something, but you're never going to build a big booty by continuously doing kickbacks on
regardless of what all these Gymshark girls do when they do their booty stuff and they have booty
on the social media.
You don't build that with those bands.
Mm-mm. They also don't build it.
It just teaches you to use your glutes.
Yeah, properly. Yeah.
It doesn't, but that's not what actually does it.
The other thing I want, like, they're not also going to build them by doing shitloads of heavy glute bridges, hip thrusts.
No.
So this is a big, like, social media sensation recently is how heavy a hip thrust you can do.
I think hip thrusts are fairly, for building glutes, I think, heavy hip thrusts are pointless because you're not going to be able to get a full contraction. You're not going to be able to hold the weight at the top in full extension if the weight is really heavy.
You almost see them throwing the bar up with their body rather than actually controlling it with their glutes.
I think the only time I would ever get someone to do that, even if it would just be body weight or with a small weight, is purely to teach full hip extension as a assistance and as accessory lifting for locking out deadlift or a squat maybe. Okay? That's the only real application I think of
I think
hip
people thrusts. Like I tend to use hip thrusts for people with weak glutes, but that it's more of as you say, like an
teaches them to use them.
To utilize them, to activate them for when they do movements, as Jake says, these deadlifts, your squats, because people don't activate or utilize their glutes much, which is why a lot of people have lower back pain, obviously sitting down a lot, crouching over bloody computers all the time. Yeah. That's why I bring in hip thrusts, but I've never
it's got to be every gym girl's go-to.
100 kilo hip thrust is the first thing on the agenda. And girls, also, can you please warm up before you start loading up 100 kilos on your hip thrusts? And God, it drives me crazy.
There is so much better. There's so many better exercise choices for building glutes.
Because that seems to be that's a big fitness trend at the moment. Women and wanting Kim Kardashian butts. So.
Yeah, well, that's not done by training at all. I don't know why you would want to. That's not even a good look.
Not a booty guy, apparently.
Oh no, absolutely am. But that's specific. That's just
hip thrusts are not going to get you there. So, sorry.
Well, they can if you don't do them really heavy and you train the muscle, not the movement.
Yeah, contract the actual muscle in your ass. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on that delightful note.
Yeah.
So if you have any fitness trends that we haven't talked about or you'd like us to discuss, then leave them in the comments box or give us a little DM. Otherwise, we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.